And we're back with another episode of NBA Observations. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us right here at the Lakers Fast Break channel as well. Don't forget all the stuff that I do in regards to the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers' latest channel. That channel is brought to you by the Fan Arc Network. All these great places. Please like and subscribe. Go ahead and make sure if you have someone out there that loves the NBA, not necessarily loves the Lakers, but if they love the NBA, tell them to stop on by because this is an NBA-centric show. It includes the Lakers, but it includes also the other teams in the NBA. If you are interested in good NBA talk, go ahead and make sure you check out right here at NBA Observations. And it wouldn't be an NBA Observations without someone who can provide the most astute of NBA observations. And he's back once again. Our almost weekly chat, indeed, always looking forward to it. It is Calif Poncy from the New Century Press and the Suave Report. Calif, great to have you back. Hopefully things are a lot better this time around. I think, well, you see it's cold or sick seems to happen where in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm finally not sick. I haven't been sick in 2 full weeks now, so that's good. I was going through a bit of a weird time there, but it is 18 degrees outside with a low of -2 here right now. So a little cold, and it's been brutal all week, but we're supposed to be all the way up to like 50 tomorrow all of a sudden. So that's kind of Iowa, South Dakota weather. It just goes all over the place. You never know what one day is going to bring. There was a blizzard 3 days ago, and now it's going to be 55 degrees tomorrow. So that's the experience.
Okay. All right. And I was just freaked out by snow in the middle of February last week here in Las Vegas. So what do you know? It is indeed just strange weather that's going on out there. Plus also a lot of people getting hard hit in the East Coast. So we're thinking about you as well. Once again, it is NBA Observations, and we're observing some things this time. I wanted to go ahead and throw a little bit different things at you. And it kind of hit me when the Lakers once again let us down as far as Lakers fans in regards to their loss on Sunday against the Boston Celtics. The refs were terrible, missed every call, but still doesn't explain the effort and the execution on both ends of the ball. Defense, they did well enough, but offensively they're absolutely abysmal. Refs aside, calling aside. But one thing I wanted to ask you is the Lakers have been a team this year, even when those rare occasions they have their big three together, they just missed their opportunities to go ahead and move up in the standings. This has happened several times, and people have seen me on the post games. They've already heard me saying time and time again, well, if with the win, the Lakers could have gotten into fourth place. With a win, the Lakers could have gotten into third place. With a win, they could have gotten even at one time when San Antonio was still rising up the rankings into second place. And they just keep missing those opportunities. So it's easy to say that the Lakers are a team of missed opportunities for this season, but I know there are others that you have in mind. So let me know your thoughts on some other teams, or if you want to include the Lakers, which I'm sure you would, and rightfully so, teams that are missing their opportunities this season.
I mean, I think this is a hard question because I feel like this season tanking is its own conversation that we do not need to have again, but there's that. And then there's also, I just feel like been a lot of injuries to role players and star players this year. They've kind of impacted maybe weird stretches. But so for teams I feel like have maybe underperformed a bit through stretches, I would go with right now. I think Philly is kind of quietly, slowly, surely sliding down the standings. They're 5-5 in their last 10. I get Paul George has been hurt. We're back kind of, unfortunately. I thought Joel Embiid was really having a strong kind of like renaissance. I honestly didn't think we'd see as well as he was playing out of him again there for a few weeks, but then he went down with some knee soreness, and I don't know if he's played their last few games or not, but either way with him, it could open a whole can of worms as soon as there's anything. It feels like there's a million things. So obviously, just as a fan of the NBA, I hope he gets back. But I mean, really, with Philly, they're still 5 games above 500, and they're in an East that, while the top 4 I think has been surprisingly good, the depth just still has not really. It's not really there in the East. Once you get past that top 4 or 5 teams, so. But I mean, you look at their last 5; they're actually 4-1 in their last 5, and in that stretch, they lost to Portland and they lost to New Orleans, both by double digits. They lost by nearly 50 to the Knicks, and they lost to the Hawks. And so, if you're going to be a team that, with how great Maxey is and where VJ Edgecombe has been as a rookie, I think that you need to win those games because I don't think it was I didn't think it was out of the question that this could be a team that maybe made a conference finals run for a few weeks with how well, like I said, Edgecombe is playing. Paul George was really playing well and kind of what they wanted him to do. Unfortunately, we're just at the point with Embiid where it feels like you're just kind of waiting on what's happened to happen with him, but he was playing incredibly well. And obviously, Edgecombe has been better than anyone expected. But I mean, those losses, Avdija has been in and out of the lineup. And he did play in this game against Philly. And Portland's a different team when Avdija plays. They're kind of a tough out when he's there and healthy. But still, if you're going to be as good as Philly looked like they could be, that's a game you have to win. And then double-digit losses to the Hawks and Pelicans back-to-back is just not acceptable for a team that I think is the level that Philly showed they could be.
I want to add one in there right below the 76ers, the Orlando Magic.
Yes.
The Orlando Magic, if you look at them, I mean, they have the 3rd best or 4th best home record in the Eastern Conference, but have, out of any of the 10 teams in the Eastern Conference, they have the worst road record of all of them, and it's not even close. This team, I understand that Franz Wagner is going to be out a little while, but they still have a talented enough team. That was the reason why Desmond Bane was traded for so many picks. Yeah, I get KCP part of it, but that was the reason why he was brought over here, was that he could fill some of that offensive gap that really was missing in previous seasons. And they just are still not getting it done. He even though he hasn't had a bad season, he's just not providing what Orlando needs. And I think it's just a situation where if this goes and continues on, we might have to look towards a breakup of the Banchero Wagner front line, because it doesn't look like it's going to be gelling the way I think a lot of people wanted it to.
Yeah, I mean, before the season, obviously, with how open the East felt, there was some legitimate talk that I don't know that I thought Orlando had a chance to make the finals this season before the season, but I thought they were very capable of like a deep playoff run. I thought that was well within their grasp, especially with Bane, who really, and honestly, that's what's crazy is Bane has probably been the best player in the team this year. The Bane trade, just in terms of how well he's played, I feel like has really worked out for the most part. He's everything they could have wanted, but. And that and Anthony Black has broken out. I mean, they're having on the margin, like I just think that the fact that you're getting these great guard seasons from Black and Bane, and of course, Suggs is going to be out again. This is kind of like the Embiid thing. Like, this is just who we have some sample now. Like, this is just who Jalen Suggs is. You can't count on him to play every game. You can maybe count on him for a little over half the season. Other than that, he's just going to be out of the lineup, unfortunately. And the referendum has come down on Paulo pretty hard on social media, and even from some people who are not just guys behind a keyboard, like people who really put their name on it. The efficiency just isn't there with him. And I think the key to them becoming that maybe conference finals contender was him taking that leap from really good, maybe borderline All-NBA guy that it looked like he could be, and maybe taking a leap up to being in that Jalen Williams top 12 to 16 territory, what was thought of Jalen Williams before this season when he's been dealing with injuries. And he's regressed, if anything. And the efficiency has not gotten any better. He's still not a good three-point shooter. And I just think the reality of this team is I just don't think it makes a lot of sense together. And I mean, you're looking at the 5 key players in Orlando are Paulo and Franz. Suggs is probably their 3rd still. Just with the identity of what they want to be. Because when they're playing well, it's because they're dominant on the defensive end. And Bane is a good defensive player, but I think Suggs is really kind of the head of their defensive snake when he's right. Bane, obviously, they super heavily invested in him. He's a key part. And then I think Anthony Black has really emerged as someone who's not just a nice player. He is a key part of what they need to be looking at going forward there. And I just think that in that lineup, Paulo's not a great shooter. Black's not a great shooter. Suggs is pretty wishy-washy. He sometimes is on fire and sometimes he can't hit a broadside of a barn. Same thing with Franz Wagner. And so there's going to be times when you have that lineup in, and Bane's the only one who anyone's really going to respect from the outside. And that's just not really a functional way to have an offense in the NBA at this current time, especially when you have a really high volume kind of mid-range specialist in Paulo who just hasn't been able to make that an efficient shot. So yeah, I mean, I agree. This team this is easily the most disappointing team in the league this season. I think now with how awesome the Clippers have been for a month and a half, 2 months now, I think that's easily the Magic. And I agree. I think Mosley has to be gone after the season, barring a crazy turnaround. And then I'm honestly, I don't know that I'd pull the trigger just because it's always easier said than done. And especially now with how hard it is to trade these huge contracts, because I think they're both on max or near maxes. And I don't think either one has played as a max or near max player this season. But I'd explore trading Paulo or Franz, whichever one you thought you wanted to build around. And I honestly think that Paulo, despite being, I think, the face of the franchise, has really been their third best player this year after Bane and Franz when he was playing. And then he's still better than Anthony Black, but obviously you feel better about the trajectory of Anthony Black right now with how he's been playing. So this all just comes down. Teams become their superstars. I've always kind of thought that and gone by that in my head at least a little bit. And Paulo's really disappointing and the Magic are really disappointing. And this is really disappointing, I think, especially for an East that needs big stars to kind of step up and fill some shoes. He just has kind of fallen flat, and that's too bad for the league, and especially Orlando, who looked like they maybe finally had something going, and now it just seems – it almost reminds me of Sacramento. And not as bad, obviously not near as bad. They have a lot more talent, but a few years ago, Sacramento, you would have said, how is that team going to have the worst record in the NBA in 3 seasons? And here we are, and they're so bad. And I don't think Orlando's headed there. But just these teams that for the last 20 years haven't been able to get out of their own way. And now it just feels like even when it's positive, negative just has to come. And I hope Orlando turns that around. But I agree with you, they've been the most disappointing team this season.
Once again, it's Calif Poncy. It's me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. It is NBA Observations. We're talking about teams that just don't seem to take advantage of times when the opportunity is given to them. I'm going to say right now, well, you could also say the Houston Rockets to an extent. Yes, I understand they're technically in third place in the Western Conference, but give them a week and they might fall back down even further. So you don't know what you're getting from one day or one game to the next, which is very strange because at the beginning of the year, they look like one of the most talented teams in the NBA, bar none. They had a boost of confidence with that overtime loss that they really played on. They should have won that game in that fourth quarter against OKC and should have continued that. They haven't had a ton of injuries outside of Steven Adams per se compared to some of the other teams. And they do have the Fred VanVleet injury. They already knew that going in, but they haven't had outside the Steven Adams. They haven't had much to their core. They've got youth, athleticism, size, and shooting ability, yet somehow they have not managed to put that all together for a big run near the top of the Western Conference. They are third place technically, but they're still 8 games back. Denver has an excuse because of and I'm not trying to side with Denver. Trust me, as a Lakers fan, I'm not, but they've had a lot of injuries. They've had a mash unit. So I can't say otherwise on that one. But with Houston, I just don't know what I know. I just don't know what I can expect from one game to the next. It just seems like for every win on the road at the New York Knicks, they'll lose on the road to the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, I mean, their percentages shooting wise are really good, but this is kind of something that I heard concerns about before the season. And I wrote a little bit about in a story I did about OKC around the deadline is they just don't have the volume of 3-point shots you need in the modern NBA. You just mathematically with how often they're shot by some teams. I know there's multiple teams over 40 a game, but I know for sure like Portland last night, I think they're up towards the top of the league. And Portland is not an offensively gifted team. The Avdia has unlocked something and he's really good. But other than that, like It's not a team that I think is particularly talented offensively, but they've, I think, overachieved based on their level of talent on the roster, because mathematically they just need to throw up threes, and some nights you're going to make them and win. That's kind of the game you play with the 3-point shot. Some games you're going to miss them and lose, and some games you're going to make them and win. And Houston doesn't really shoot them, and they don't shoot them in bunches. And Kevin Durant, all-time great scorer, probably one of the 5 to 10, probably not even 10, probably top 5 individual scorers you've ever seen. But he's not a three-point guy. He's a lot like a Devin Booker or an SGA or someone like that who really does his work in the mid-range. That's where he really masters. Not breaking any news there. Everyone who's listening to this, I'm sure, is well aware of Kevin Durant's game. But so you're not going to look at probably a ton of attempts from him. They're probably the guy you'd think would have a lot of volume would be Reed Shepherd, but Ime Udoka just really likes to jerk his minutes around. In some games, he'll play a lot and be a part of the closing rotation. In some games, he doesn't play in the fourth quarter. Amen Thompson, Şengün, these guys aren't going to shoot a lot of threes, and so you're really relying on Tari Eason and Jabari Smith, I think, to make and shoot a lot of threes, and it's just not particularly. You really need an engine of a 3-point offense, and they don't have it. So I think that plays a lot into it. I do think that, while I think Ime Udoka is an awesome coach, the way he jerks around the lineup, I think, just isn't, unless you have a really high amount of buy-in, which maybe they do. It doesn't feel like a super excitable, happy team to me, but that just kind of comes with the Kevin Durant territory, it seems, at this point. I just don't think it's super smart to be jerking people's minutes around all the time, especially like Reed Shepherd. You drafted him 3rd. He's clearly something. Like, Reed Shepherd isn't a bust. He can play. And you need a point guard. That's their biggest need. They need someone to organize. And what are we going to do when the offense dries up and Kevin Durant can't just make every shot and Şengün isn't finishing around the rim? He's the closest thing they have with Van Vliet out. And they just seem to not really want to fully commit to him because he's not great on the defensive side. But a big part of having an awesome defensive infrastructure like Houston does, and all these Amen Thompsons and Tari Eason and Jabari Smith and all these awesome defenders, is you can surround maybe a weaker defender like a Durant, who's fine, but he's, 38 years old. He's not stopping anyone one-on-one at this point, really. And especially like a Reed Shepherd, you have all this length and shot blocking behind him. That's the point. And I just think that this is a team that just it's felt weird for a while. There's the weird KD burner thing at the All-Star game that made it feel even weirder. And with how teams in the West are looking, I think that San Antonio is so much better than anyone thought they were going to be this year. Minnesota, they're going to bring it in the playoffs. Denver, if they can get healthy, they're going to bring it in the playoffs. OKC, same thing with them as Denver. I just don't think this is a team. This is at best the 5th best team in the West to me, in terms of playoff outlook, and I guess that's at best. And then you even have some debates after that. So this has been a really disappointing season. It obviously all fell a little bit off the rails when Van Vliet, who's so crucial to what they want to do, got hurt, and then the way they were overcoming their offensive limits was because Steven Adams just has this otherworldly offensive rebounding rate that gets them so many offensive possessions. And then he's out for the season, and that really takes away their offensive superpower. So I don't think the offense is going to get any better. They're going to be a good defensive team. They're still going to rebound well. They're giant. They have awesome individual defenders, but I just don't think the offense is where it's going to need to be for them to maybe even win a round.
What about your thoughts on Minnesota, a team that has reached the Western Conference finals on 2 straight occasions? It's going to be a little bit of a tougher climb this year, in my opinion. They're not as deep as they once were. I do like the addition of Ayo Dosunmu. I don't know how well he'll be utilized, but I really like that addition. Your thoughts, my friend, because it seems like it's Ant trying to carry or will his team to a top 3, top 4 finish in the Western Conference, and I'm not sure that's going to be enough.
Yeah, this is a team that has really been the same, not in terms of personnel, but just in terms of how they seem to go about it the last 3 years. Every time Minnesota seems to be on the right track and Ant's going to break into the real MVP conversation, they're going to pass a bunch of people in the standings. They have a weird week where they lose 3 games to teams maybe they shouldn't lose to. And then in the playoffs, there's there's probably less than a handful of better playoff performers in the league than Anthony Edwards. He's going to be awesome in the playoffs. I losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I just think he's the type of player that really makes a lot of sense in this era of NBA. He's a very good defender on star guards, including guys they're going to have to go against: Jamal Murray, SGA, Luka, guys like that. He always has matched up well enough with guys like that, or as good as you're going to get almost anywhere. And he's a capable three-point shooter who can have big games. And they let him walk to sign Naz Reid. And I get that. Naz Reid's great. Obviously, a sixth man of the year, beloved there. Everyone has seen the memes and everything online that how much they love Naz Reid. But I just think this has been a weirdly managed team personnel-wise. But the Dosunmu move was, I think, if utilized correctly, like you said, makes so much sense next to Anthony Edwards. Capable defensive player, really high percentage three-point shooter who will take them. Most importantly, like we just went over with Houston, it's almost as much about guys who will shoot them as much as guys who are efficient. And so I don't really even look into their regular season that much, to be honest, because I think we know who this team is. Now, it's going to be harder for them to make it because they always play OKC. If they play OKC in this, I do think Minnesota will win a round. I think they're better than the Lakers or the Warriors or Portland or the Clippers or any of those middling teams. And I think I'd pick them to beat the Rockets in a series. But when you get to that second round, you're almost certainly playing one of San Antonio, Denver, Oklahoma City. That's just kind of what the second round is going to be. It seems really likely those three teams would be involved barring injury. And they match up well with OKC in the regular season, just like they did last year. But OKC really, they won that series in 5, and they kind of really pretty easily beat Minnesota outside of maybe the games in Minnesota were really close and back and forth, but OKC felt like the better team the whole time. They match up well with Denver, but that was also back when they had Karl Anthony Towns. And we haven't really seen them play him in a playoff setting since they lost Cat, who – for all his defensive weaknesses, really does a pretty good job on Jokic, or as good as anybody does somehow, with as poor of a defensive player as Karl Towns often is. But they've matched up well with them, and Ant's going to think he's the best player in every series, and that matters to a certain extent. So, I don't know if I think they're a conference title team this year, just because of how much I think OKC is going to be really good when they get everyone back. Same thing with Denver. I think I'd pick them to beat San Antonio just because of the playoff experience thing, but I do think San Antonio has the best player in the series. And I think both teams' depth maybe is going to be a little exposed come the playoffs, but we'll see what happens. I could be wrong on the San Antonio front. I just think they're really young. Minnesota's an interesting one, but I think they're just going to be all about the playoffs, and we'll see what happens.
I think those are the teams you could say that have missed their windows of opportunities on more than one occasion this season to be higher than where they are currently in the standings. And I know some of the frustrations with some of those fan bases. My Lakers fast break fan base is frustrated with where the Lakers are at right now, given the names that are out there. Mm-hmm. And again, it's just, do you take advantage of the schedule when it's brought to you? When you have a home game and you have a chance, the ability to move up into third place in the Western Conference, you take those chances. You take it and you run with it. And it does not seem like the Lakers are really understanding or just caring enough about where everything is lying in the Western Conference. But you are seeing other teams providing that effort and energy on the other side. Teams like Boston, which is playing above their heads. Cleveland, which has now finally got the memo, and until they got stopped in OKC, had won 7 in a row. Detroit, which lost tonight against San Antonio. Both those teams have gotten the message on how much it's important to them to finish as high as they can on the food chain. And then, of course, what we're seeing in OKC right now, obviously they're just trying to get it through without their major players involved, or a lot of their rotation players involved as well.
Yeah, San Antonio they're going to really be nipping at the heels of OKC the rest of the season for that 1 seed in the West. OKC is back to having the best win percentage in the league after Detroit has dropped that game, and I think maybe one more in the last week. I haven't been as plugged in as I normally am. I've been up in Des Moines with Iowa State boys wrestling, so I haven't been able to. And I was there for hours at a time, really long time. So I couldn't watch as many NBA games as I wanted. But there's been a lot of fair conversation about OKC. I think with They started off whatever they were, 24-1, 25-1, and now they're 44-14. So really still a pretty awesome mark relative to the rest of the league. But when you're discussed as OKC, you're not measured really against the rest of the league. You're measured against yourself. But they still have pretty easily the best net rating in the league. The defense is still amazing. SGA, if now this injury has lasted a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but if he plays enough games, he's still probably a pretty safe bet to win MVP. You're seeing some emergence in OKC, like Jared McCain so far has looked like an awesome acquisition. Isaiah Joe's been playing really well. Casey Wallace has been playing really well. So we'll see if all these injuries end up being a positive thing for OKC in the long term. But it's a race at the top for that number one overall seed. I mean, we'll see. San Antonio's 2.5 back of OKC. I think the Thunder should be able to just maybe hold them off, assuming SGA gets back relatively soon. But the race against Detroit's going to be interesting. That could very well be the matchup we see in the finals. And we saw with OKC last year, when OKC goes on the road, they're a lot more susceptible to having bad games and falling than when they're in OKC. The only games they lost in OKC all playoffs were basically buzzer beaters from Halliburton and Aaron Gordon. So, I mean, it's really important. And I think that the feeling around home court advantage is a little odd. I think some maybe think that the importance of it is lessened. I disagree. I think that once you get into the big rounds, it's as important as ever, especially if you have a really good home court advantage like Detroit does, like OKC does, like San Antonio does, like the Knicks do. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting race to the top. And I think that to go to your point, what you see from these teams who are already over 40 wins, the three of San Antonio, Detroit, and OKC played a crazily easy schedule to start the season on their historic run, but they took advantage of it. And they went whatever they were, 25-1. And now it's been a little bit harder and they've been dropping games, but they did enough work in the games they should be dominating, that they still have the best net rating by almost 4 points. And they still have the best record despite 6-4 in their last 10, missing a lot of guys to injury. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be an interesting race to the top of the standings to see what happens. And I think it's a 3-team race. I think Boston 6 games behind is already out of it probably. So it's really going to be between OKC, Detroit, and San Antonio to see who would host a final series if they were to make it.
Once again, it's Calif Poncy from New Century Press, and also as well the Suave Report. Yeah, I think that's it. I think those are the teams now that have missed their opportunity as far as the concern. There's teams like you mentioned, the Clippers, who were just such a disappointment, who are playing pretty good basketball still, even after the trades are concerned. I think that just they really don't. They're caught between a rock and a hard place because they're so far in front of Memphis. I don't think that even if they did a super tank, it's like battle of the tanks. Who's better at tanking? We are. So it's,
yeah,
kind of
it would have been interesting. I think it would have been interesting to see. I don't think they would have traded Kawhi if they did have their own pick. Obviously, as everyone knows, OKC has it. But Kawhi's been so good, it's probably been him and SGA who've been the best players in the league this season.
But you don't know if Kawhi is going to be able to finish out his contract.
He could. There's some free agent buzz. Maybe we're getting a marquee free agent fight for the first time in 5 years this summer.
If he likes LA, there's no house, there's no plane, there's no accommodations this time around. But if he wants to stay around for the minimum and come over to Inglewood, that's fine. All right, we'll go ahead and see.
Yeah,
it's funny because you have this talk about LeBron, whether he should stay or whether he should go, and it's just so funny to hear the back and forth on it. Would you keep him for the minimum? Would you not? Would you? Again, I don't want to be part of that debate. I just want to mediate it as best I can, but it's just going to be interesting to see. And there's a lot of people that are done with the LeBron experiment, and there's a lot of people, I'm assuming, in the Clippers land that are done with the Kawhi experiment as well.
I would be interested to see if there were a lot of people on the Clippers side. The injuries, the era is a failure. Obviously, trading SGA, trading the picks.
But it's just a tease, Caleb. He's playing, like you said, he's playing as good as SGA now, but it's a tease. It's a tease right now. We're just waiting, counting the days until he gets injured again, or he's doing it now when it really doesn't matter for a 10th seed in the Western Conference.
I get it. But I also think it's the Clippers. Like this is still probably one of the 4 to 5, if not higher, best players they've ever had play for them. If they do lose him to whether his contract gets rescinded, whether he's suspended, you're putting a lot on the plate of Ben Mathurin because there's. I think
you don't have to tell Ben Mathurin to shoot.
There's not going to be a question of volume shooting in LA like there is in some of these other places with Ben Mathurin on the team. I'm not worried about it, but I think you'd really struggle. And I just think we'll see what happens. They're clearly, I think, better than where they are in the standings because of how horrible that start was. And you're just waiting for the shoe to drop with Kawhi. I totally get it. But this is the bed they've made. He signed to an extension. You don't have your pick still for this year or next year. I don't know. And they did a good job of getting you. I mean, Mathurin, he's not the type of player I love, but he's a talented scorer, and he's shown that with bigger opportunity and with the Clippers. And I am a big fan of Darius Garland. I think if he can ever get healthy, and we talked about how concerning those reports about his feet are a few weeks ago, especially for a place like the Clippers, who just since their inception has struggled with injured players. But I think he's a talented guy, and it's worth a shot. And I don't know if I don't think Kawhi's contract is going to get rescinded. That would really surprise me if they went to that extreme. Adam Silver, just until this recent tanking talk, he just hasn't really been a commissioner of extremes like that, especially without. I still don't know if there's going to be a quote unquote like paper trail that they can really fully prove. As much as it's going to be an overwhelming amount of unless there is a overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence to the point where he clearly did it and whatever. But I think you need a Joe Smith thing where you need an idiot franchise to be like, we are circumventing the cap and writing it down
on a cocktail napkin.
Yeah. To actually really like rescinding a contract is a big deal. And that would be a game that, I mean, I think Kawhi's playing great, but they would still, maybe this is what you were getting to. They would love to get out of his contract. Like you open up all that cap space, you're an attractive place. You move on, you wipe the slate clean from this era where you're probably even as good as he's playing. That team's not beating any of the top 5 teams in the West in the playoff series, barring he just turns into 2019 Kawhi and stays healthy at top of it. So we'll see what happens with the Kawhi thing. It's really interesting. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when or what is going to happen, which is not a very common thing in sports. Usually you have some feel of, even if it's not confirmed, you have some feel of where things are going to go. There's no feel. I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen.
I'm just going to say this when it comes again to this whole Kawhi Gate thing. I think you have to lay the hammer down. Otherwise, you're sending a message to the entire league to go ahead and do it. By all means.
I agree.
And you're talking about amount. I mean, I don't know if you've watched the Pablo Torre Finds Out shows, but his stacks are very large. And the last one shows that the Clippers allegedly are, well, it actually kind of looks really like it, that they have been tampering with the possibility of getting Kawhi all the way back to when he was with the Spurs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a paper trail through his trainer that's there. So,
well, I think if we wanted to crack down on tampering, I think we maybe would have some talk about a place. I think your LA team knew they were getting LeBron for quite a while before.
Oh yeah. I would not. I'd be right there. Of course, yes. He said he alluded he wanted to go to Hollywood and go into entertainment and things like that. Yeah, that was essentially. But he had, I think that was already like in reports in the Baxter Holmes article. I think it was already mentioned that he had been leaning that way since about a year leading up to it. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, tampering again, that's just part of the puzzle. That's just part of the puzzle. But the money transactions, the whole 9 yards with aspiration, it's just like the whole Sunday is there. You're just waiting for the spoon to come in so you can go ahead and clean up all the mess there, and we'll wait and see. But I do think Adam Silver needs to throw the hammer.
Yeah,
I really think he needs. You know what? They might want to try and fight in court, but that could take years. And by that time, Kawhi is too old. And you know what? So they probably won't fight it because Kawhi is too old. So we'll have to wait and see. Again, I just think that there should be this is a precedent. So you set the precedent right now. in doing so. This is not Joe Smith. This is something larger than Joe Smith. That was just like you said, a stupid move from a very, I guess, what would you say, aloof owner, in to say the least, on that, as far as making that kind of mistake on a cocktail napkin. That was blatant. I get that. This was elaborate.
Yeah.
This was something done on a wide scale, and it's something that, again, something that's this elaborate, that is detailed, and you're not even having to do all the work. Yes, you're having to verify all the work with your company, but somebody has gone out there and done all the
Mhm.
legwork for you and just already made you look bad in doing it, because you've already tried to look into this before and said everything's fine. Everything's fine. Well, you know what? Not everything is fine, because there's someone out there that has proven without a shadow of doubt there's some nefarious stuff going on.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's totally a precedent thing. And if this happens and it's like, oh, here's a 10-game suspension, what's the teams will just take it to even higher extremes. Like, why take this much money and we'll just give you this through some shell? Like, I totally agree. It needs to be a pretty harsh punishment. I think it will. I just don't know if he's going to get his contract rescinded, because that's such a huge extreme. But it deserves a long suspension. It deserves a long suspension for Ballmer, and he deserves. I don't even. I guess a big fine for Steve Ballmer. He doesn't care, but
You got to take away the picks. It's got to be the picks. It's at least five number ones going forward. I understand they don't have them now, but as they get them in, you take one away each and every time for every other year that they're in existence. You keep punishing them for the rest of the next decade, that you're going to be able to do that. But and if they don't punish it, you're gonna hear a lot from me on it. You're gonna hear me a lot about it, and I'm gonna be very angry, because it's just wrong. And if that's the case, if it's just a little slap on the wrist, or it's really not the answer that we're looking for, guess what? Tomorrow I may call the Lakers and say, "Hey, I just started a shell corporation named the Lakers Fast Break LLC. Funnel that money to me, baby.
yeah.
We'll get it to you where you want it to go. There you go." Because they're doing it in the Clippers land down the street. Why don't you do it right there for the Lakers? But again, I'm hoping that they will do the right thing and be able to go ahead. And for Adam Silver, he needs it. He
Mm-hmm.
needs it. He was looking so good when he started with dealing with the Clippers,
Yeah.
and it's fallen way off since then. God must love the Clippers, because the Clippers, they just keep on serving those dishes back up to Adam Silver again. They're okay, Adam. You know what? We know your PR right now is not that great. We're coming right back at you with something else. We got your career started off on a great note. By God, we're gonna do it again for you. We're gonna help you out, bro. We're gonna help you out.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that. I totally am on the same page. I think maybe 5 is a lot, but I mean, well, it should be a hefty penalty. It should be multiple draft picks. I don't know if I'd go to 5.
I go to 5,
Um,
because remember, Joe Smith, it was 5, but it got reduced to 3.
yeah, I think 3. I would go 3. I think that's a big punishment, especially in this. Um,
This is more elaborate than a cocktail napkin.
it is, and this is planned and back channeling, and not just an idiot owner. I totally get it. We'll see. I'm not against anything. It's just going to be hard for them to do 5. I think, when again, like, there's this just Watergate book mountain level of circumstantial evidence, but they still haven't found Steve. I mean, I just think it's because that's why they were able to even try and do 5 with Joe Smith. Because again, I totally agree with you. It was more elaborate. It's a bigger deal. It's a more dangerous situation for the league, but I think Steve Ballmer's probably been in enough back alley dealings in his own career already that he probably knows not to write it down anywhere. So we'll see. It should be hefty punishments. And I think the notion seems to be trending towards that direction, that no one knows exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be a big deal. And I mean, I think we talked about that last week, and you just said it. I mean, at a perfect time for Adam Silver to just need a PR win. This is just really coming right down the alley for him to just have something that he can just put out, and 29 fan bases will celebrate a hefty punishment.
If it was the Lakers, people would want 10 taken away from them. I'll just say that. 10, yes, at least. I mean, but hey, the Lakers are not the cleanest company in the books. Well, I don't know with Mark Walter. We'll see how that works out. But with the PPP loan scandal and some other things that we don't want to go into detail right now upon. Yeah, they're not the Angels.
No,
Let's
no
per
one
se.
is.
Yeah, no. Well, the Angels themselves down in California, they need to do some tampering because they're really bad.
Yeah, yeah.
They're really bad, and they just have no clue there. But getting back to the NBA, speaking of the Clippers, and speaking of your OKC, I wanted the last part of our conversation, unless you had something you wanted to touch on. So please do so if that's the case. I'm more than happy to talk to you because we don't have a time limit. So you just let me know if there's anything else you want to touch on. But I wanted to tell you this because it was so funny. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on because there's been so many marquee matchups in college basketball within the past 2 weeks, especially, and it's not even tournament time yet. That's the beauty of this. That's why it really hit me to approach you on the subject because we've seen top 10 matchups on several occasions within the past 10 to 14 days, and it's not even tournament time for these leagues, these divisions, these conferences. And it's been exciting to watch as a casual fan, but most casual fans haven't checked in yet. Let's be real here. Most of them are still contemplating that before we go in. If they're looking for an NBA draft, individual or two that they need to follow or whatnot, when should the casual fans start watching college games? Because you're adding more on the list, you're adding more on the plate for them. So there's only so much time in the day in doing so. When is it the time for a casual fan to start keeping an eye on college basketball?
Say about a month ago. I just I am not. I mean, I just was at Oklahoma State last year. I covered college basketball there. I like college basketball, but I mostly now have shifted to I watch it through a lens where, really, I don't care about BYU, but I've watched a lot of BYU this year. So that's just kind of I watch it how the casual NBA fan would. I really watch it through a prospect lens. And these guys, DeBansta is awesome to watch. Some people are mad about his fouling. Shockingly, coming from a guy who covers the Thunder, watching a player gets fouled a lot doesn't really bother me very much. I love watching AJ DeBansta. I think it's great. When Darren Peterson is playing, it is unlike any college guard I've seen in my life. How good he is! Like
when he wants to play.
Yeah, absolutely. When he's playing, that with the effortlessness with how he can score the ball already is it's crazy. I haven't even watched a ton of Boozer at Duke, but he's the most productive of all. He double every game. Not even I don't think he's going to be 19 on draft day yet. So those top three are awesome. And then you get to guys like I watched when UNC and Duke played a few weeks ago, and Caleb Wilson, who's the consensus fourth guy in the draft. I thought he was better than Boozer. He's awesome. And then,
are you sure he's the consensus? Because I've looked at a couple places, he is either fourth or fifth, but because of the rise of Houston, although they have lost a couple of their big marquee matchups against other highly ranked teams, Kingston Flemings is also a name that people are talking about as well.
He's rising. I mean, he's another really talented guy. I mean, you have Nate Amen at Tennessee has been on fire for a month. Like he can't miss. You have
Acuff in Arkansas.
Acuff,
that was a great game with them in Alabama. Did you see that? That went to like double overtime, and they both scored over 110.
Yeah. So with a third of the league tanking, people need some competitive basketball to watch. And the college game, especially if you watch from an NBA lens, has been awesome this year. I mean, this class, there is a reason why so many teams are trying to just race to have the 8th pick, have the 9th pick. We haven't even got like Keaton Wagler at Illinois is awesome. There's guys all over the place. I think there's 8 or 9 guys in this draft class who are awesome and like could be really good NBA players. And then that's just the ones we see now. There's always Donovan Mitchells and SGAs and guys and Bam Adebayos and heroes and guys that come in that 10 to 15 range. There's always 1 or 2 awesome guys out of that range every year.
Absolutely. I mean, Phylon and MB Alabama. I mean, we talked about that Arkansas Alabama game. On the other side, Phylon looks like he's a top 10 prospect as well. You got Illinois, who seemingly has some really great prospects there. You're right, but I just wanted to ask because there's a lot of casual NBA fans that don't tune in until just before the draft, or March Madness, excuse me. I'd say just start watching now because
Yeah.
there's really a lot of good players that might be on NBA rosters next season.
Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy, crazy good class. And that's not to the surprise of anybody. People have been talking about this class like this for a couple of years, but I think it's even better than everybody thought it was going to be. So, yeah, I mean, I would, if you have any interest in the draft, watch now because these guys, not only are they all good, a lot of them are really fun to watch. Like these are not tough watch players. These are all guys who, the Bansta is amazing in the mid range. Peterson scores effortlessly. Boozer is good at everything. Flemings and Acuff both are super explosive scoring guards. Amet is this big, rangy, lanky guy who some games he looks like Zachary Sachet and some games he looks like college Kevin Durant. Like it just depends on the day you find him, but he's that level. He has that talent in him somewhere. And so, I mean, this is just a class loaded with unbelievable talents, and it's fun to watch. I mean, like I said, I'm not usually a big college basketball guy, but this season has been like whenever I do watch, I always find myself fully invested and locked into whatever game. Over the weekend, I was hanging out with some friends out, and at where we were at, Iowa State and BYU came on. And from Iowa, I grew up an Iowa State fan. I was always going to pay more attention to it anyway. But like DeBansta played all 40 minutes in that game and was awesome. And I think got fouled 11 times, whatever. People were complaining about that where I'm from. But just scoring effortlessly, tough mid-range shots, moves so fluidly. Like people don't move like he moves at his size. And he's just so fun to watch. He's who I would take one, even as much as I like Peterson, who – this stuff's really with him is so weird, and I don't even really know how we could broach it just because it's so no one knows really what's going on. Is he actually hurt? This stuff was happened in high school. Like this isn't a college exclusive thing with him. Like he had these weird lower body things where he'd be in and out when he was in high school, but it's so clear when he's on the floor that this is a truly, we overuse the term generational, but this is like a generational guard prospect too. If he stays healthy or buys in, loves the game, whatever his deal is, he's going to be a 25 to 30 point a game scorer in the NBA. He's just that level. And I'm confident in saying that he's that level of scorer. It's effortless for him in a way that it hasn't been. Anthony Edwards wasn't this effortless. Guys like that we like are awesome, great NBA players. Just, it didn't look this easy for them at 18.
And I just want to say before I get to my story that I thought you might find interesting. There's a lot of big front lines, and a casual in audiences, casual fans, they automatically go to, okay, who's the star player, the big scorer, or who are the big guys? And there are some big front lines. I'm talking not just centers. I'm talking big front lines. I mean, off the top of my head, Michigan puts out there a big, huge front line. You could throw out the Ivicic brothers in Illinois. I know they're both like second rounders or whatnot, but they're both 7-1, and one plays offense, one plays defense. And I've seen them both out there sparingly together. It's crazy. And you have North Carolina with a big front line, Kentucky with a big front line. These are, I mean, that's the thing that's intriguing me the most. There's not these teams that all just have like a 6'6" center, and there you go. This is something that there are a lot of teams out there sporting some massive front lines, which, again, it's the big guys are always the sexiest according to what people see and what they go to, automatically tune into. And there's some talented, not earth-shatteringly great, but there's some really talented big men that could fill up a lot of rosters in a age where we need some talented big men added to the depth of NBA rosters.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan, Landenborg, I don't know exactly how to say his name, but Yaxel Landenborg, he was at UAB last year. He almost came out last year. He decided to go back. I don't think he's going to go in the top half of the first round because he's, I think, almost 24, but he is a really talented big guy.
Yeah. And then Mara.
Yeah. And then you have, I don't know how to say his name, the Duke Ngongba. I don't know how to say his name. Gongba, maybe. But he is a really big, elite defensive big. Cenac at Houston started slow, but he started to come along. He was a big time recruit. Those are the guys really on my radar. And then I always just love kind of big wing types. Like, again, I watch a lot of Iowa State because where I'm from, they have I love Josh Jefferson, and I think for those who listen who have a Thunder interest, I think he is such a Thunder. If you happen to watch Iowa State, which you will, they're going to be a 1 or 2 seed in March. When I watch him, I just think he makes a ton of Thunder sense. He makes a ton of where the NBA is at sense. He's big. He's a really good passer. Shooting isn't great, but I mean, and he's like a late lottery, late first round guy. I mean, the depth of this class is insane, and there's so many fun players to watch in college right now. And that it's a great class because guys just don't. You look at the best scorers in the NBA, a Shea, an Ant, a Paulo, guys that like these guys weren't putting up 40, 30-point games in college very often. And you're like Acuff almost scored 50. And if Peterson ever played 35 minutes in a game, he would just score 35 points. It's that easy for him. DeBance does it 25 a game. Boozer's over 20 a game. Like the effortlessness with which these guys score in a variety of ways is so crazy for where they're at. I mean, I think I would be shocked if this draft doesn't have like at least 4 to 6 all-stars come out of it. Just because of, and
it's just the depth to me as well, and the size, the effective size. I mean, people, if you need to go to a site as far as for the NBA draft now and mock drafts that are already available, go to Tankathon. That's probably the best place for casual fans where they should go. It's clean, it's concise, it's straightforward. Doesn't give you a whole lot of frill or ads or anything like that. You just go there and you can see, and they are constantly updated and flowed. Like last week, the Lakers were looking, projected to get in their minds Malachi Moreno, who is a 7-footer out of Kentucky, I believe. And then watching him, whatnot for a little bit. Okay. Then it shifts to Karim Lopez from New Zealand now, as far as the pick for the Lakers this week. And so again, they're always shifting based on the different trends and abilities and how that's going. They're going to keep on doing it going forward. I remember, Zach Edey for quite a bit was on Tankathon was in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And until that last bit where he just skyrocketed up, you're just like Young Hansen did the same thing where he was in the 40s and the 50s.
Oh, that's where he should have gone.
That's where he should have stayed. Maxime Renaud was going down, which again, Rob, you blew it on that one. He is on the Kings, but he's getting doubles every night. So you tell me. You tell me. But
the other thing I'm noticing about this now, I know most of these guys, but I just am looking. These are all just guys who make so much sense with where the game's at. Like you get prospects sometimes who you like, but like Jalen Green went so high because he's a crazy athlete and the scoring is effortless, but he also just plays and still does. Like we're still seeing it. It's why, in my opinion, he hasn't worked. The way, like that type of player just isn't necessarily what the NBA is moving towards right now. This high volume chucker guards. Like it's just not. And you look at these guys and like Peterson is not like it, when you watch him. It's so weird because the team chemistry is clearly off and like it's just so odd to watch. But I don't think he doesn't strike me as someone who's just going to go out there and just be like, I'm just shooting guys, like get out. Like he I think plays within the team pretty well. Boozer averages 4 assists and is big. All these guys play within the team and they're all big. We're not seeing these like small, like the Dillinghams of the world, like a 6'1" guard. Like those guys don't really play in the NBA anymore either very often, or they're not really good. Peterson 6'6", Boozer 6'9", DeBance 6'9", Fleming 6'4", Caleb Wilson 6'10", Mikal Brown 6'5", Acuff is 6'3", and he's one of these guys. He kind of is a little bit like the chucker guard who's a little undersized. Like he's one that kind of scares me a little bit. But the scoring is clearly awesome. And then, Amen's 6'10", Wagler's a big guard, Philon's a big guard. Just all these guys make sense for where the NBA is going. It's not just a talented draft. It's a draft with talent that makes sense with where the league's at, which rarely are those things. You have to usually mold these young guys to kind of be what you want them to be. And I think most of these guys, honestly, are going to step in and make sense in a rotation.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. But before we turn to your final thoughts or another thing you want to talk about, I'm at Tankathon, and one of the things they also do right there, I talk about the mock draft, but they also have a big board where you can look at all the prospects in a row and what they're rated at by either school, by position that they play, what have you. One of the things you can also do is simulate the lottery with one
Oh yeah,
just yeah, you
a
can
lot of
push
lot,
one.
lot of lottery sims in OKC
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yep. So you could just go ahead and you just need to push one button. So okay, I haven't done it really yet, but I did it on the last weekend just once. I just went to Tankathon. Actually, I was on the air on the fast break, and I was just like, okay, I need to look and see it so I could gauge who's where in standings. I'll just do while I'm here while Joe's talking. I'll just go ahead and do similar talk because Joe talks a lot. He talks for a while. You can go ahead and build houses, but when it comes right down to it, I did the sim lottery once, and who should it land on? Funny how that is. It lands on the Clippers. Oh, I'm sorry, but they have that pick taken away because it belongs to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, yeah, I just thought you might find that as
Yeah, I mean,
amusing.
that's what I mean. This is part of what I was pointing to on my lottery rant. This is what this lottery does. If the Clippers, Kawhi maybe sprains an ankle or sprains a knee at the end of the season, he misses the plan. They're not going to win if he doesn't play, and you give the Thunder the 12th best odds. That's where Dallas jumped from last year. Like this, that's just kind of that's what this lottery system opens up. So, I mean, obviously the odds are very strongly against that happening, but who knows? Like it's possible. Like because of their anti-tanking rules, the Thunder could end up with Cam Boozer on their team. Like that could happen, or whoever they decided to want to draft.
I mean, it does allow for that, which is exciting. I think for a lot of teams, whether you want to say it's rigged or not, I'll leave that up to you. Frozen envelope, whatever it is you want to say. I'm just it leaves that possibility for me. And if they do something to really clamp down on it, so that teams like in the 10 through 15 spot or in the lottery, in that late lottery spot, have zero chance to go and move up. That I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that. Just I would like to at least give them some type of hope because while they most say that, oh, well, they're just out of the playoffs, they could just be one step away from getting in the playoffs. They could also be one step away from being really, really bad.
Yeah,
And so that's like Chicago. Chicago was always back end of the lottery, playoff bound, 35, 37 wins. All it took was just one step off the edge, and now look how bad they are at this point in time. But it's a little too late because they won too many games earlier this year, so now they don't really have a chance to really move up as much as they thought they could be. But again, it is what it is in regards to. But I suggest people out there start watching these college basketball games now, and it's not too much longer. They'll be in tournament time. So yeah, please go ahead and do so. If you are interested in seeing who the Lakers, who the Celtics, who the Thunder, whoever it is that you're following watching this show might be interested in picking up, go to tankathon.com, go right there to the big board, go right there to the mock draft, see where your guys line up. It's really easy format to understand and read. And that's probably where I go for casual fans out there, Caleb.
yeah. Tankathon's great. I mean, if you're a fan of a tanking team, as I was following a tanking team somehow not that long ago, and now they're the Thunder, obviously, but it's a lot. It's one of the things that gets you today, doing a few spins because you never know what can happen in there. And so yeah, go check out Tankathon. They could definitely sponsor us if they wanted to. That would be comfortable with me, Tankathon, but shouting out your product. But yeah, so it's a good site. I mean, I didn't even know about the big boards and mock drafts really. I just always went on there and did lottery spins. That's what I always did. So yeah,
They got them right there.
yeah, so it's a fun site, and it is good, and it is constantly updated. And a lot of times with mock drafts, like you got to wait for Jeremy Woo to put his out or whatever, and it takes a month or 2 months between mock drafts, and they update theirs all the time. So it's a good fun site to go on.
And no paywalls.
Yeah,
That's the most important thing. And it gives you the percentages, gives you everything that's breakdown that you need to go ahead and follow in order to do it. And understand Sacramento is clearly in the lead as far as the worst record in the NBA right now. So I was wondering if anyone else is going to get a season-ending surgery. I've seen finger, hand, nose with Yusuf Nurkic. Yeah, that was the most interesting one that saw earlier today. A nose surgery, and he'll be out the rest of the season. Hmm. Hmm. It just seems like you can go get any work done you want now. If you're on a losing team, hey, I really need that scope. I think I'm going to go ahead and get it now. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yeah.
No better time.
There you go. But before we head on out, if you wanted to go ahead and add anything on, or just let people know what you're up to, either which way, my friend, I'm all good and I'm all ears.
I only have one thing. It kind of jogged my memory when you're talking about the Bulls. What are they doing right now? So Giddey is good, and that's not. Obviously, again, like I watched a ton of him when he was young, and I've always thought that he was going to be a good player, and I think he is. I think Giddey is good, and I think he clearly is the best player they have going. I like Buzelis. What's the point of trading and just kind of replacing your current young guards for younger guards if you're not going to play him? Dillingham already kind of like is in and out of the rotation, and Ivy, I think, has already been like fully pulled, and he's doing depressing quotes about how he's never not himself anymore. And this team just, I hate them as just someone who follows and wants like competent basketball teams. It's really gross. What's like, if you're going to tank, play the young. This is the whole point. Bulls, you're horrible at drafting. You haven't drafted anyone good since like Jimmy Butler. Like you haven't made the best pick you've made since then was Kobe White, who's a pretty good player. Who you got second round picks back for that you drafted 7th overall. So that was your return on investment for Kobe White. And you get these second draft guys, which I think is smart. Like, I have a small, I think it's funny story about Dillingham that I'll say after this, but like Ivy was a highly thought of guy who just never got a ton of run in Detroit. Injuries, and Cade Cunningham might win MVP. Like, it just didn't work out for him there. And now, like, you don't have who are they? I don't even know who they're starting at shooting guard off the top of my head. And maybe he is still starting, and they just have him pulled out and late.
I think was it Buzelis or Okoro? Because I'm looking at it now.
I don't try and hurt my brain and watch the Bulls play basketball.
It's Buzelis right now.
Is he starting at the 2?
You'd either say him or Okoro, but the way they have it listed, I think they're I guess you could say it's Okoro. So.
Why are we starting Isaac Okoro in 2026? He is not good. We know this. It's been established. He was on a playoff team and he could not play last year in the playoffs, and he doesn't have the talent that Jaden Ivey is unlikely to be a great player. Obviously, just the way the basketball world hasn't been kind to him in the NBA, it hasn't worked out. It happens to guys. That's fine. But he's still clearly really athletic. He's still really talented, and he's never gotten his chance. And I never have bought into Rob Dillingham. I just think being an undersized volume shooting guard in 2025 and later it's just not, there's not very many of them for a reason. Like, it's just not a particularly strong archetype. But my Rob Dillingham story is when I was at Summer League this year, I got there and I'm super excited to be there. It was my first time, hopefully my first time covering it media-wise and even going. And so I just went the first day. OKC didn't even play, and I just went there and watched a bunch of the games because I just didn't have anything else to do. I was just there watching, and the Wolves were playing, and obviously Dillingham was in. And they, like, Terrence Shannon had like 30 in this game, and Leonard Miller, I think, was good. So I tweeted a very positive tweet. It was like, really liking what I'm seeing from all the Bulls. Other than Dillingham tonight, like, they've all been playing good. And Rob Dillingham, for anyone who doesn't know, which should be most people, he's this huge 5-star recruit, went to Kentucky, crazy high school player. And there's this weird subsection of people who like basketball, who like see Ball's Life highlight mixtapes, whatever, and cling to these guys when they're like 16. And yeah, Dillingham is a perfect high school basketball 5-star. He's really athletic. He's talented. No one's that big in high school. And if you are that big, you're a highly rated recruit. Everyone knows who you are. And so he was awesome in high school, definitely. And he also went to Donda Academy, which I think already closed and has never produced a positive thing. And anyway, so I tweet out, I'm like, other than Dillingham, I'm really impressed by all these guys. And some guy, keep in mind, you can still go look at my Twitter. I'm not like Woj on there. Like, I get like 4 likes on my tweets. So like, why anyone cares what I'm tweeting is beyond my understanding. I have no idea. But Some guy comes under my post and is like, "So why are you taking shots at Rob?" I was like, "I don't know. I just didn't think he's playing. Like, I don't think he's playing well. Whatever." This starts a chain reaction. I never argue with people on Twitter because it's a waste of time, and no one's ever convinced anyone of anything on Twitter before. It's not worth anyone's time. But I'm sitting there watching basketball, and I'm just saying basketball things I believe. It's like he's an undersized guard. Minnesota needed point guard last year. He could not even crack the. He couldn't get in the game. Like if you're not going to play rookie heavy minutes in the playoffs, I get that. Like that's fine. You have heavy aspirations. It was in the regular season, and Dillingham could not play for the Timberwolves. Like he couldn't get in the game. And this guy is just like, well, that's because he is just bad defense. He was bad defensively. Now he's a year older and he's a year bigger, and this is going to be Kyrie Irving with better playmaking. About Rob Dillingham. And so again, I was going to leave this alone. I was going to be like, this guy clearly doesn't actually watch basketball. This is not. No one thinks that, but Kyrie Irving with better playmaking, I feel like as just someone who respects the game, I needed to step in and be like, okay, this is a ridiculous thing to say. Like, what are you talking about? Kyrie Irving with better playmaking would get in the game as a rookie. Like, I get maybe you're not going to play him heavy minutes. He would be playing over 35,000-year-old Mike Conley. Like, it's not as if he's going against like Derrick Rose and is ahead of him in the depth chart. And this starts like this long thing, and that's kind of the story. I mostly just wanted to tell everyone that there's someone out there who thinks that Rob Dillingham, who cannot play much already on the Chicago Bulls after like 2 weeks of being on the team, thinks that there's Kyrie Irving with better playmaking in there. And because of that, I kind of root against Rob Dillingham. That's probably not great of me, but I feel like that guy just needs to be humbled in general in his life and in his thoughts, and maybe just retire from watching basketball. Go watch. Hockey's very exciting right now. Go watch hockey.
I'll just say this again, Rob Dillingham. The expectations are high. I mean, I see a similar pathway that Killian Hayes, who wears a lot of hype attached to him, and great, he's back in the league on a 10-day, but he was a number 7 pick, and he was back in the league on a 10-day. That tells you where guy that was Kevin O'Connor's number 1 pick and he's never been able to live it down. And again, he's struggling to stay in the league. And I think I kind of see that for Dillingham as far as his future is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm overstating. Like, obviously, I don't really root against any of these players, of course, but like the reality is the reality. That is not an archetype that smart teams are getting. Like the players who are in that vein are of a past generation, the Jamal Crawfords and the Lou Williams and guys like that who had their place, but they're like poor defensively, not ball movers. Those guys just aren't really in great rotations anymore. And if they are, it's like a Zach LaVine or someone like that who is a great scorer and he's obviously very talented, but like he doesn't do much else. And you worry about that for some of these guys, Jalen Green, Shaden Sharp, there's guys in that, and they just kind of always end up being a little disappointing. And you look at their numbers and they're not disappointing, but their teams are never very good, especially when they're the guy. And I mean, we're seeing like if Houston had Cason Wallace in there, who's like he's great defensively, but offensively, he doesn't give you much when you're in like the flow of a big time playoff setting. Like I think before everyone went out and he had like unusually high volume or usage, he was like 7 points a game. But if you just had someone who wasn't like self-destructive in the game for Houston last year, they would have probably beat Golden State. And I think that's just the type of player Dillingham is, except at least with Jalen Green and Shaden Sharp, those guys are a little taller. They're, I think, both 6'4" or taller, and they're superhuman A+ top percentile athletes. And Rob Dillingham is not. He's small. He's not a terrific athlete. And those guys are just not, and that's why I probably won't be a big A-cuff guy in this draft, because as explosive as the scoring can be, same with Rob Dillingham in college. These archetypes, and when you're small, like the league has never been bigger as a whole. Everyone is big. Everyone wants to be big. Point guards are big. The best point guards in the league are Luka and Shea and Cade Cunningham, who are all traditionally would be shooting guard size. They're all 6'5" or 6'6" or taller. I mean, what's Luka, 6'8"? Like, these are really tall guys, and you see who's left of the undersized point guards. It's like Trae Young, who's clearly a really talented guy who's even had success, and he just got traded for literally nothing. He got given away by the Hawks to the Wizards. And so I just think Acuff, I'm probably going to be out because he reminds me of Dilling. I mean, I just think these guys don't lead to success anymore. So to that guy who slightly made one of my days at Summer League just a little bit worse, just by making me realize that people like you existed.
They do.
I tell you that I won because he got traded to the Bulls for as a part of like a salary throw in, and now doesn't really play already on the Bulls, who are terrible and are 1-9 in their last 10 games.
Have you gone back to that original tweet and the original comments that were made? And
no, because I just was gonna wait till the end of the season. So I'm like, okay, he's still young. I'll give him till the end of this year with Minnesota. Then he gets traded, and now it's like, well, he's obviously gonna have a few big scoring games with Chicago where this guy's gonna be like, see, this is what I'm talking about. I don't care if they lost by 45 points. This is what I'm talking about. And if he doesn't, then yeah, I'll go back. I'll find the 4 like tweet and be like, hey, how's Rob Dillingham doing? Not good, because he's going to average 37 points a game in the Taiwanese league in 3 years, but not in the NBA.
Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it indeed. But Calif Poncy is here. Are you working on anything big before we head on out?
Up here, high school stuff is I was at state wrestling the last 2 weeks. I'm kind of a little chilled out this week. And then next week, for the 2 weeks after that, I'm at state basketball. So this is just a crazy state tournament time of the year. And the Thunder are just in a weird spot. I thought I might do Jared. I think I'll have something with the increased 3-point shooting that Jared McCain brings. It's really interests me just watching having 2+ shooters, because those who haven't been watching the OKC, Isaiah Joe has been on this crazy heater for like 3 weeks, even going back before the All-Star break. He's just making everything. And a big part of OKC's problem, which is the last thing I wrote, is they just have not had enough 3-point volume, enough 3-point efficiency, frankly. That's really been their biggest, maybe their only real like weakness when they're whole, is they just really relying on Shea to make threes. And that's not his game. It's not what he wants to do. It's probably a win for the defense when he takes a 3 and doesn't try and get to the line or get to the mid-range. But Isaiah Joe, and frequently in the playoffs, he's just been out of the rotation the last few years. And this year, I think he's shooting so well, and he's really added some other stuff to his game too. But his shooting obviously is his biggest skill, and he's shot so well. I think he has to stay in the rotation. Then they also, of course, go add McCain, who's been, I mean, I know Daryl Morey said they sold high. I can't believe any team got him for, what's it going to be, the 22nd pick? And McCain is good. He's not super thundery per quote. Like, he's pretty poor defensively. He clearly gets targeted. He's undersized, but he's
not going to play much in the playoffs with a full healthy roster.
I thought that, and now they haven't been healthy, and a lot of who's been out has been guards, but he is playing a lot more than I thought he was going to, even with the injuries. I thought they'd lean more on like big minutes for Casey Wallace and guys like that, and they are, but I think he's going to play more than people think. I'm really just interested to see what happens when they get back. And Isaiah Hartenstein, when the Thunder beat Cleveland yesterday, and I didn't think they were going to win. It's like a Cleveland's on fire. They're on a tough schedule, part of their schedule, but Cleveland's on fire. OKC is not, and they got a good bunch of guys out. And they go out and win. And I think Hartenstein maybe shot 100% from the field, but I think he scored like 12 points or maybe 14 points or something. But if that's a game that if you watch, I've seen some stuff this week about how the Lakers would make a real big run at Hartenstein, and if he were to hit free agency, which they should. Hartenstein's really good. I don't think OKC can or will let him leave unless he just wants an ungodly amount of money, which maybe he will. But it was totally a game where when you think of OKC, Hartenstein's maybe like the 5th, 6th player you think of if you don't watch the team every game. Obviously SGA and Chet and J-Dub and Dort and Caruso. Like, you think of all these players maybe before Hartenstein, but he's so crucial to when they're at their best. And this is really the first time that he's had multiple elite floor spacers with him on the floor at the same time. And I think when Shea gets back and Jalen Williams gets back, I think there's going to be a really interesting look they can throw at someone in the playoffs where it's just an offensive lineup that's still good defensively, because obviously Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, and Shea's not elite defensively. Shea holds up and he can guard guys on the perimeter, and Hartenstein and J-Dub are both elite defensive players. And I'm just really interested to see. Anyway, really long-winded for an NBA observations. Really long-winded, very super niche Thunder-specific topic about the floor spacing Isaiah Hartenstein provides. But I think I might dive into that a little bit here this week, maybe if I have some extra time, because I think it's really been interesting to watch from someone who obviously is super interested in what's going on with OKC.
We will see, and we're looking forward to it. Once again, it is Calif Poncy. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing with his back catalog of articles right there at the Swab Report, and also what he's doing with the New Century Press as well. Calif, just a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for stopping by. I know you said you were unsure when I was talking about the teams earlier that, haven't really taken advantage of our opportunities, but it kind of worked out that well as far as the conversation leading into Kawhi, which it can always lead into Kawhi, and then into, of course, the NBA draft as well. Looking forward to it. Before you go, because I do focus more during the months leading up to, and the weeks, more likely the weeks leading up to the NBA draft. How familiar, how much do you focus on the NBA draft when it comes up?
I it's probably rooted in my growing up traumatic life as a Browns fan. I love drafts of any kind that I follow, and I usually do a mock draft of my own with just no intel, just firing off guesses usually, obviously, but I usually do a mock draft before every year. So I'd love to be on those. I love the draft, and always dive in, and it helps that the Thunder have just had this stockpile of draft picks where you still have to get familiar with the lottery guys even when your team's super good.
Okay, I've been known to run one, not every year, but if I decide to do it again and have some people stop on by to run a draft, might be interested.
Sweet.
Just checking my names and thinking twice on that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, NBA draft sparks some interest, especially when the Lakers have a pick as they do this year. We'll see if they continue to have it, but that being the case, it is the Lakers fast break. Truly appreciate you joining us, but we'll be back soon with more great NBA talk, as always, right here on NBA Observations.